Hey everyone, this is acyuta-bhava from Nightlight Astrology, and today we are going to take a look at one of the biggest remaining transits of the month of June, which is actually not technically perfecting until July 1st, but is going to be the transit that most of us are feeling all of next week. Maybe even some of us are already feeling it this week, and that is the upcoming square of Mars in Aries to Pluto in Capricorn. The reason that this transit is so powerful is that both planets move very slowly. Mars, of course, moves much more quickly than Pluto, but it is one of the superior planets, meaning it's in the Chaldean order. It's above the sun. It goes Sun, Jupiter, Saturn. So Mars moves a little bit more slowly, and which makes the transit more powerful, kind of winds up. Like if it packs an energetic punch, it's like got a bigger wind up, like Popeye, like spinning his arm around. And, Mars Pluto transits are very powerful. Most people feel them. Some transits it's like hit or miss if you notice it. You can't miss a Mars Pluto transit, in at least in my humble opinion or my observation of people over the years, including myself. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the upcoming Mars Pluto square. And today I'm going to talk about 10 different Mars Pluto convulsions that you can watch out for both this week and especially next as the transit is coming through to perfect on July 1st. So before we get into that, don't forget to like and subscribe, share your comments in the comments section. All of this helps the channel to grow. If you do subscribe, click on the notification bell for updates of my newest videos. You can always find transcripts of my daily talks on my website, nightlightastrology.com. All right, well, the transit in question, again, is Mars in Aries squared to Pluto in Capricorn. These are also one of the reasons that this transit is also powerful is that they're happening at the very final degrees of Aries and Capricorn, which makes it more dynamic. It has the feeling of something that's reaching a sort of critical mass. Those last degrees of the signs tend to be like, the grand finale types of events or experiences when planets are moving through those degrees or aspecting other planets at those degrees. So that's another reason to consider this as, not just your run-of-the-mill transit. So I'm going to put up the real-time clock and just show you briefly what this looks like before we actually get into it. Here it is. And what I want you to notice is here is Mars in Aries squaring Pluto in Capricorn. Now they're at the 27th degree. So that's that. One of the reasons that the final degrees are so powerful, of course, the final degrees are usually the bound rulers are the malefics. Those final degrees, they're called every sign is broken up into 5 different degree chunks, and each one of those chunks is ruled by a different planet. The late degrees are always Mars or Saturn. So we've got the malefics kind of toning the bounds of these degrees. It's a malefic in Mars. It's a very powerful one in its own sign, co-present with Jupiter. So it's like a little bit like a Mars on steroids. And then it's squaring Pluto in Capricorn. Remember, Capricorn is the exaltation of Mars. So it's a very Marsy feeling. That's why I want to discuss not today's transit, but this transit today in terms of energetic convulsions, because Mars Pluto, especially with so much amplification of Mars from Jupiter, from Pluto being in Mars's exaltation, you just get the feeling of like a very energetic convulsions behind this one. So that's what we're going to look at today. Now, this is on July 1st that it perfects. Very shortly after that, you're going to see, if I advance this by just a couple of days, you're going to notice that Mars leaves Aries and pops into Taurus right around July 4th or 5th. So the separation period from this square is very brief. The buildup is much more intense. If we go backward into June to, let's see, June 23rd, Thursday, today, you notice that that Mars is about 5 degrees out from Pluto right now. So once it gets into that 3-degree range, that's when you may really notice it. And let me just take you forward to that. So the 3-degree range is, right about here. This is this Sunday. So let's say Sunday of this weekend through next weekend is when you'll probably start feeling it most intensely. But with a slow moving planet like this to an outer planet, I would say right now is you should already be noticing it. You could already feel it sort of ramping up somehow. So now let's discuss, what are these 10 Mars-Pluto convulsions to watch for? We're going to be talking about, we'll do some horoscopes on this one, and probably maybe even 2 more videos talking about the Mars-Pluto thematic combination, just because it's really powerful, and a lot of people are going to be, I think, benefiting from talking about this one and preparing for it. One of the bigger transits of the summer, one of the more dynamic, energetic, explosive transits. Of course, there's things to watch out for, and there's things that are very promising and exciting. So we'll try to cover those. I noticed as I was thinking about all of the Mars, the first phrase that I came up with was an alliteration. And so then I thought, oh, challenge accepted. I'll try to do an alliteration for all 10 of these Mars-Pluto convulsions. So the first one is a burst of bravery. One of the things that Mars-Pluto can bring to us that's very beneficial is giving us the courage or the bravery in a sudden burst of, enthusiasm or charisma that says, I'm going to do this thing that I've been scared of doing. So that's maybe one of the greatest benefits of this transit is, just the sudden burst of confidence that can come through and give you the sense that there's a risk that's worth taking, saying something or doing something or starting something. Mars loves to start things. So a burst of bravery is the first convulsion that I watch, for a very positive one, I think. Number 2 would be a bit more broad way of talking about Mars and Pluto, which is an energetic explosion. So literally, Mars and Pluto can signify explosions, like literal things blowing up. But energetically, you may notice that there's just like, I think some of us will just sometimes step back and go like, wow, that was a lot of energy. Was it good? Was it bad? I don't know. It was just it's just a lot of energy. So you may notice in the next week or so, through July 4th, but especially right around July 1st, you may notice big explosions of energy, big, just kind of that sense of powerful movements that are very sudden and fast and strong, movements of energy. So watch for energetic explosions. And I'm just kind of keeping that value neutral, because sometimes it's helpful to describe it in that way so that we don't get, too swept up in it. And sometimes, especially with Mars energy, we can get reactionary. Number 3 would be Draconian dominance. I thought this was kind of a fun one, although it's definitely ominous in the way that it sounds. But, Mars and Pluto, especially with Pluto in Capricorn, can get a little draconian, meaning really strict. You think about draconian law, and you're thinking of like, sort of excessively rigid and strict ways of running things, or laws that are made in society. Sometimes, oh, that's that's so draconian, people will say. And people may use that to just talk about something they don't like. But in this case, I'm talking about something that would feel dominant, assertive, strict, and rigid, sort of all at once, like a dominant, strict, draconian assertiveness. So watch for that. Not necessarily a fun one. You could fall victim to becoming that way. So I think that's the thing that's important to watch out for. And you could also, sometimes when you're facing such an energy, a draconian domineering energy somewhere or in someone, it's better to sort of regroup and recognize like, oh, okay, this energy is playing out right now. Maybe even give it some space to cool off before, if someone's trying to negotiate with you for whatever, and you notice this and Mars Pluto's in the air, like if it were me, I would just let it cool off a little bit and then go back to the table and see if that energy has died down. So it's helpful to know that strict, assertive, dominant energy can be just sort of in the air for a bit. Fuming and frustration. This is one of those things where you're like, something is so frustrating that you feel like you're going to blow a gasket. It's the straw that breaks the camel's back. It's the It's the moment where if you're a parent, you need to step into the other room for a minute, or you're going to blow. So be aware of having a shorter fuse, of the fuming and frustration, like becoming really intense to the point where you could lash out. So that's something that if you're aware of and you have any kind of mindfulness practice, you can just give yourself some little timeouts, some little peaceful time for yourself. If you can't find it, seriously, like bring a stress ball or something. I know it's kind of silly, but I mean, whatever you can do to stave off letting frustration boil over and turning into something destructive. Uh, Now, sometimes frustration reaches a point where it turns into constructive action. That to me, that's different. You have to know the difference, right? Number 5 is fun. Lightning bursts of libido. So the other thing about Mars Pluto is that it can be about very powerful, sometimes more like forceful or rough or just really heated and intense, like sexual or romantic connections. Mars is often very passionate and intense when it comes with Pluto, when it comes to sexuality. So the the lightning burst of sexual energy, I would be careful about sexual, people who are more predatorial. Like I would be very aware of what environment, I'm in or my kids are in or whatever, when it comes to this energy, because it can be sort of um, more a sexual predator type of energy or stalkers and stuff like that. But on the other hand, this is one of those like, you may just be you may be particularly hot for your lover. Number 6 is Fast and Furious, not the movies, although I have only actually seen one of them, so I'm not. Anytime that a series has more than like 7 or 8 movies, to me there's like a diminishing chance that I'll like it. So maybe I'll like the first one. But anyway, Fast and Furious. Mars Pluto can ramp up this kind of like, okay, I'm getting really manic and I'm cleaning the whole house. I'm getting shit done and I'm doing so in a like fast, furious way, which could be really good. Like, fast and furious. And one of the other things that I have on here that I'll be talking about is like, you know, it can really be an effective use of energy. But fast and furious basically to me just means you can press the gas pedal, and that can be a good or a bad thing. When things happen with Mars and Pluto, there's often explosions that are very fast. So you just, it can also, again, like some of the other things I've said, like if things are moving really quickly, it is possible that you're not thinking very clearly or that you become reactionary. So Fast and Furious can be helpful, can, get things done, can clarify things, can move things forward, can start things, but can also, destroy things if it moves too fast with not enough mindfulness or too much willfulness. Number 7, muscle and machismo. Don't be surprised if suddenly you're like, I want to, pump some iron at the gym, or, I'm suddenly watching like the UFC, what do you call it? Mixed martial arts, or, the attraction to things that are strong or heroic or, martial. Uh, you could be like, I think I'm going to collect, ancient Chinese swords, or it's like something you could find something that is sort of martial to be very attractive. You could also feed into, a little bit of like a meathead machismo energy around this transit. But the attraction to that super masculine, sort of muscular uh, energy is a part of this transit, and there's an aesthetic dimension to it. Let's not be fooled here. There's something attractive about like strength and blood, sweat, and tears and hard work and the martial arts and focused, disciplined use of will and strength. Like there's something very appealing about all of that. It could be also, you could see like really notable events or news in the sporting world. Like you could see the downfall of Dan Snyder, who is like the owner of the Washington Commanders, who, you know, formerly called the quote unquote Redskins. That name has been changed, but there's a lot of, like, if you're a sports fan like I am, there's a lot of dirt in that organization, a lot of corruption. Would it surprise me to see corruption being revealed within the sporting world? Like it always is, but like there's always stuff, you know. But I think that you could see more powerful revelations about like men in power or sports or war or like war crime. So anything that's related to muscle and machismo, the dark side of it, that's sort of suddenly being, it's like really pronounced. You know, you could look at that. Number 8 would be primordial passion. To me, this is where suddenly this very regenerative, rejuvenating feeling of energy and enthusiasm just bubbles up, and you're like, I have to do this thing that I love. The primordial sense of what you love and the desire to act on it. And that to me is one of my favorite dimensions, you know, aspects of Mars Pluto. So watch for that primordial regenerating, you know, it's like very healing to feel Mars Pluto being like, what do I love? What do I want to do? 9 would be a relentless release. Now, this could be good or bad again, where what I mean by a relentless release is that, you know, Mars Pluto can be very cathartic and volcanic and eruptive and purgative. Like, okay, let's bring things out that are frustrating, that are fast, that are intense, and let's make you encounter things very quickly, like these energetic releases. And they can be sort of relentless, almost like staccato marks, you know, on a bunch of notes, you know, along a musical line of you know, like a composition or something, and you're just hitting a staccato. It's just like, oh my gosh, you feel like you're being pounded like a drum, and it's releasing these waves of intense energy or feelings, or, you know, stuck or blocked stuff. So, you know, and that could be a good thing. Like, wow, I feel like, you know, someone's banging the drum and all this good stuff is coming out, and I'm feeling like uninhibited, or I'm feeling like motion and momentum are coming back. Or you can feel sometimes like I'm being sort of driven into the ground by the intensity. And you know, it's a little different for everyone. So I would just be aware of that potential for the sort of relentless drumbeat of Mars Pluto. Finally is energetic effectiveness. And to me, this sort of rounds it out by saying, look, this energy is, I said it earlier, it's like get shit done kind of quality. And sometimes that requires bravery. Sometimes it involves explosions. You know, sometimes it's fast and furious. There's passion bubbling up. There's releases that need to happen. But, you know, I don't think you can argue with the fact that Mars Pluto at its best, like, gets things done. And not always easy, but often necessary. And also just, again, like the primordial passion, like Mars Pluto will give you a sense of like where and when and how much to apply your energy, your time, your money, your resources in order to just quickly do something or start something or accomplish what you're seeking. So appropriately, I'm clothed in black for Mars Pluto, right? Feels like a Mars. Feels like maybe I could have done red, but anyway, wasn't intentional. So that's what I have for today. I hope that this gives you guys something to prepare for. This is coming on July 1st. You may not be feeling it now, but I promise you next week you will be. As it gets closer and closer, it starts feeling like, you know, the tea kettle starts shaking and the whistling starts happening. So we'll take this through some horoscopes and keep turning the jewel next week as well. If you have stories to share now or as the transit applies, don't forget to use the hashtag grabbed and then tell us your story in the comment section about Mars Pluto and what you're encountering. If you were born with Mars Pluto, tell us a story or two. You want to email a story to us for consideration for a future Grabbed episode, send it to grabbed@nightlightastrology.com. I always appreciate hearing from you guys. There's always like way too many for me to include in the episodes, but I learned so much from hearing your guys' stories, and I read all of them. So thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share your comments, click on the notification bell for updates. You can find a transcript of today's talk on my website, nightlightastrology.com. That's it for today, everybody. Take it easy. We'll see you again tomorrow.